70% of the surface of the Earth is covered by the water. Approximately 97% of the water on Earth is contained in its approximately 1.35 billion cubic kilometers, 324 million cubic miles of water volume. All life on Earth depends on the water, which also gives the planet its blue color when seen from space. The only planet in our solar system where the presence of liquid water is certain is Earth. Oceanographers have separated the ocean into four main regions despite the fact that it is one continuous body of water: the Pacific, Atlantic, Indian, and Arctic Oceans. In the frigid waters surrounding Antarctica, the Atlantic, Indian, and Pacific Oceans converge. This is referred to as the Southern Ocean by most oceanographers, who define it as the fifth ocean. Climate and weather are significantly influenced by the ocean. Water evaporates due to the heat of the sun, bringing moisture to the atmosphere. The majority of this evaporated water comes from the oceans. Condensed clouds made of the water vapor release their moisture as rain or other types of precipitation. This procedure, known as the water cycle, is necessary for all life on Earth. The ocean contributes significantly to the heat in the atmosphere. The ocean radiates heat to the atmosphere as the sun warms the water. The atmosphere then disperses the heat around the world. The ocean regulates global temperatures by absorbing heat in the summer and releasing it in the winter because water absorbs and releases heat more slowly than land masses. The Earth's climate would be extremely frigid if the oceans weren't there to help control global temperatures. Ocean development. The Earth progressively divided into layers of lighter and heavier rock once it started to take shape some 4.6 billion years ago. The Earth's crust was created by the lighter rock rising. The Earth's core and mantle were created when the heavier rock sunk. Rocks inside the developing Earth provided the water for the oceans. Water vapor and other gases were released as the molten rocks cooled. The water vapor eventually condensed, covering the crust with a primordial ocean. At the ocean's bottom, heated gases from the planet's interior still create new water. In the 1920s, researchers started mapping the ocean floor. They made use of devices known as echo sounders, which employ sound waves to gauge the depth of the water. Sonar technology is used by echo sounders. Sonar, or sound navigation and ranging, is an acronym. The sonar revealed the amazing geological features of the ocean below, including enormous mountains, deep gorges, sharp cliffs, and broad plains. The crust of the ocean is a thin layer of basalt, a volcanic rock. There are various regions on the ocean floor. The first is the continental shelf, which is a continent's almost flat undersea extension. The width of continental shelves varies. Along low-lying ground, they are often wide. Along steep coasts, they are typically narrow. Sediment from the adjacent continent has been deposited on a shelf. Rivers deposit some of the sediment, and structures like natural dams trap it. The majority of the silt was exposed on the continental shelf during the last glacial period, often known as the Ice Age. Relict sediment is what it is known as. The ground abruptly drops down at the continental slope, which is the outermost portion of the continental shelf. The slope drops practically to the ocean's floor. The continental rise is the subsequent milder slope as it tapers off. The abyssal plain, which is the deep ocean floor under the continent, is reached by the continental rise. Broad, level landscapes called abyssal plains can be found at depths of between 4,000 to 6,000 meters, 13,123 feet to 19,680 feet. The flattest landform on Earth, abyssal plains make up 30% of the ocean floor. Fine-grained material like clay and silt cover them. Pelagic sediments, the carcasses of tiny ocean animals, also float downward from higher ocean strata. Abyssal hills and seamounts, which are underwater volcanic peaks, are dispersed throughout abyssal plains. Each major ocean contains a vast chain of mountains, primarily underwater, that rise from the abyssal plains. The chain, which encircles the Earth and is more than 64,000 kilometers long, is known as the mid-ocean ridge, 40,000 miles. A deep central rift, or break, divides much of the mid-ocean ridge. Tectonic plate boundaries are identified by mid-ocean ridges. Through a process known as seafloor spreading, molten rock from the Earth's interior rises from the rift and creates new seafloor. The Mid-Atlantic Ridge is the name given to the main section of the ridge that runs through the center of the Atlantic Ocean. Not until 1973 was it directly observed or investigated. Ocean trenches are broad, deep depressions that can be seen on some parts of the ocean floor. They are the ocean's deepest areas. The Mariana Trench in the Pacific Ocean, close to the island of Guam, contains the Challenger Deep, which is the deepest location of all. Although the Challenger Deep's real depth is unknown, the most precise readings place it at a depth of 11,000 meters, 36,198 feet, below the ocean's surface, which is more than 2,000 meters, 6,000 feet, higher than Mount Everest, the highest peak on Earth. About 8 tons per square inch of pressure is present in the Challenger Deep. The ocean is teeming with life, from the seashore to the deepest abyss. The tens of thousands of marine species include everything from microscopic algae to the blue whale, which is the biggest animal to have ever lived on Earth. There are 5 main life zones in the water, and each features species that are specially adapted to that marine ecology. The higher, sunlight layer of the ocean is known as the epipelagic zone. It extends down to a depth of around 200 meters, 660 feet, from the surface. The epipelagic zone can be found in lakes as well as the ocean and is also referred to as the photic or euphotic zone. Photosynthesis can take place in the epipelagic zone thanks to the sunlight. Some organisms convert sunlight and carbon dioxide into energy and oxygen through a process called photosynthesis. Algae and plants perform photosynthesis in the ocean. Seagrass is one example of a plant that resembles land plants in that it has roots, stalks, and leaves. An aquatic organism that can photosynthesize light is called algae. Seaweed is a large algae, like kelp. The epipelagic zone is home to phytoplankton as well. Microorganisms known as phytoplankton include bacteria, algae, and plants. Only until they number in the billions and produce algal blooms, which show up in the ocean as green or blue splotches, are they visible. The foundation of the ocean food system is phytoplankton. Phytoplankton produce roughly half of the oxygen released into the Earth's atmosphere through photosynthesis. Fish, krill, a type of shrimp, and tiny creatures known as zooplankton all consume phytoplankton. Whales, larger fish, seabirds, and humans all devour these species in turn. The mesopelagic zone is below and extends to a depth of roughly 1,000 meters, 3,300 feet. The twilight zone is another name for this area because of how dark it is there. The mesopelagic zone lacks vegetation due to the absence of sunshine, yet enormous fish and whales dive there in search of prey. The fish in this area are tiny and glowing. The lanternfish, which has organs along its side that produce light, is one of the most prevalent. Some mesopelagic zone creatures, including sperm whales and squid, will occasionally dive into the bathypelagic zone, which is roughly 4,000 meters, 13,100 feet, deep. Because no light can enter the bathypelagic zone, it is also known as the midnight zone. Although bathypelagic animals are small, they frequently have enormous mouths, razor-sharp teeth, and expanded stomachs that allow them to ingest whatever food that comes their way. The majority of this diet is made up of plant and animal remnants that drift down from higher pelagic zones. The absence of eyes is common among bathypelagic creatures because they are unnecessary in the dark. Fish in the bathypelagic zone swim slowly and have strong gills to absorb oxygen from the water since the pressure is so high and it is so challenging for them to find nourishment. The abyssopelagic zone, or the ocean's bottom, contains extremely salty and chilly water, 2 degrees Celsius or 35 degrees Fahrenheit. The pressure is extremely high, 11,000 pounds per square inch, at depths of up to 6,000 meters, 19,700 feet. The majority of animals cannot survive as a result. To survive in this ecosystem, animals in this region have developed strange adaptations. The jaws of many fish appear to be out of joint. With the help of their jaws, they may search the seafloor for food, including mussels, prawns, and microscopic invertebrates. Squid and fish are among the numerous bioluminescent creatures that can be found in this area. Bioluminescent organisms emit light as a result of chemical processes occurring within them. For instance, a certain kind of anglerfish has a luminous growth spreading in front of its enormous, toothy mouth. The anglerfish simply snaps its jaws to eat its meal when smaller fish are drawn to the light. The hadopelagic zone is the lowest region of the ocean and is located in gorges and trenches. Few creatures are found here. Small isopods, a group of crustaceans related to crabs and shrimp, are among them. The hadal and abyssopelagic zones are home to invertebrates including sponges and sea cucumbers. These creatures, like many sea stars and jellyfish, are nearly totally dependent on the marine detritus, which is the falling fragments of dead or decaying plants and animals. However, not all creatures that live on the bottom rely on marine debris. On the ocean floor, near what are known as hydrothermal vents, a group of animals that devour bacteria was found in 1977 by oceanographers. These vents release mineral-rich, extremely hot water from the Earth's interior. The minerals feed certain bacteria, and the bacteria in turn feed organisms like crabs, clams, and tube worms. This is all for today. Thank you for staying with us. Don't forget to like and subscribe our channel. See you soon.